The office is the quarterback to what happens in the field. If your office is fucked, I guarantee your field's fucked. Until right now, this very moment, contractors have always been on their own, not as tradespeople, but being alone and knowing how to take their business to the next level. They call us working class, they call us blue collar. They say that we don't have the smarts to become the business owner that we're meant to be. That is such bullshit. You have the ability. You're more than any of that. The question really is, where do you get the insights that you need specific to contracting to systemize your business so you can get your profits to pay for your freedom? I'm Andrew Houston. I'm going to show you how to make more profits, how to get more control, how to get more freedom in the simplest, quickest way possible without any of that bullshit. Welcome to the No Bullshit Podcast for Contractors. Listen up, level up, and if you learn something, like the video, subscribe to the channel, change your business, change your life. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about leadership, okay? Now, we didn't get into this yet, but, I mean, you don't have one or two guys working for you.
No,
what do you got? What have been some...
Depending on the time of year,
say,
between 20 to 25.
20, 25 people, right, okay. So, and let's talk a little bit about your business. So let's talk about, like, types of services that you have. Let's talk about that. Right.
Yeah, so we'll do plumbing, we'll do drain cleaning, grease trap pumping, septic pumping. We'll do sewer rehabilitation, so we'll do lining. We'll do water services. So we go from excavations to basic plumbing.
Love it.
Water in, water out we deal with.
Love it. Okay. So a couple areas I want to get into here before we look at finishing up this podcast. One is from the perspective of leadership. I'm going to get into that actually in a second. Well, not in a second. After this one. The one I want to tap into right now. And there's a lot of aha moments that you and I had. True?
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about, again, all these listeners, everybody listening in, I told you it's No Bullshit Podcast. Like, I'm going to give you this shit. Like, take it, okay? So let's just pick a couple. So I've got one. What do you got, Peter? What was an aha moment where you're like, fuck, I didn't know that. Do you remember? Do you have any that come to mind?
Yeah, I mean, one of the ones that typically sticks out in my mind is basically, running the company and you start getting frustrated and, you're dealing with employees and you're not really, maybe you're not dealing with them in the proper way or treating them, exactly in the way that you should be treating them. And, you become of the mindset that, you go in and I should be able to just tell you what to do and you should be able to follow it. And there shouldn't be any questions and there shouldn't be any discussion about it. It's basic stuff. And you should be able to deal with it. And if you didn't deal with it, then there'd be a whole bunch of yelling and screaming and, it'd be a very uncomfortable moment for everybody and a lot of frustration probably on both sides. Not probably, there would be a lot of frustrations on both sides, right? So,
didn't cost any employees, did it?
Yeah. So the funny thing is you don't realize it when you're in the moment, right? You don't realize that what you're doing is costing you your business, your employees, costing you friendships. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I'd love to go backwards and try to save those relationships from really, really good people. And, just one slip of the tongue and boom, your relationship is done. They're gone. You lose a great employee. And in a lot of times, in a lot of cases, it would have been just a take a deep moment, deep breath and settle down and calm down. And you might be able to reason with them, talk to them or figure out another way of dealing with the issue. Right. But when you're not open to it, when you're basically ruling with an iron fist or a sledgehammer,
yep.
Which I was.
You were definitely Thor.
You're too busy using the hammer to realize there's another way of dealing with stuff, and so not a good person, not a good boss, not a good person.
That was tough for you.
Well, at the moment, it was very tough because I couldn't understand why nobody else got it, right? And I just didn't understand why. Why they just weren't doing what I was telling them to do or asking them to do, or actually I was telling. So it just wouldn't get in line. So sort of running it like the military, I guess.
Yeah. Dictatorship.
Yep. Yeah.
So what was what do you remember the conversations?
It was, quite the surprise for all of us.
Yeah. What happened?
Well, we just started working on, I think that was probably one of the first things that we started working on was how to save relationships or how to.
You had just implemented, going back to the beginning of this call, like Jen listens to some of these podcasts. She goes, she'll listen to this. Hey, Jen, I love you, babes. She'll listen to this. She'll be like, you sat down with Peter, right? And he gave you all these bullets, right? I'm like, no, you actually remember that stuff. Yeah. And then she'll just shake her head because there's so many things that I don't fucking remember, okay? But I remember this stuff. So in the beginning, you had just implemented the new pricing.
Yep.
Yep. And, the theory behind it was good. The math behind it, actually good. Now, Peter, I'm going to give Peter some serious credit. And let's give somebody else some massive fucking credit that's not here, that maybe should be here, or maybe on another podcast, is Tina, right?
Yeah.
Tina is a fucking rock star. Am I right? Like doing the books, the financials, like dealing with so much shit while dealing with your shit, dealing with the employees' bullshit, implementing systems and policies and procedures, and like, oh my God, she was like an animal at it. She's the one that went to the conference, back to what you're saying. She
did.
That said, okay, Peter, we're gonna start putting money away, right? And
She did.
made it happen.
And she made it happen.
She fucking made it happen. So Tina, if you're listening on this, man, like seriously, we need to get John here. Actually, we need to get some of the other ladies in on this, okay? No, honestly, because we got to give credit where credit's due. Plus being a mom, making the sandwiches, making sure that you're there, as on time as could be, which is probably late all the time, right? And like your son was saying, Dad would be on the freaking phone. We'd go on a hockey game. He like can't talk to Dad. Why? He's on the freaking call. He's like on the call the whole time, right?
On the phone all the time.
Totally, right? So one of the things that was happening was that your team wasn't buying into what you wanted. And one of the things that I did, I don't know if you recall this, I had a conversation with some people.
You did?
And what came back out of that?
Well, I am happy that they shared how they felt about the whole situation.
Hence, getting an outside perspective. They're
Absolutely.
not. They're guys. Everybody listening in. Part of this whole getting coached or getting help is the other part of this is not getting somebody. And again, it sounds like a marketing prof for contractors. Yeah, fuck. Of course I am. Well, what kind of coach would I be? Okay, honestly, let's be honest. Not that I need people's business. Like it's prof for contractors. I think I've done pretty good, like over a long period of time. But the reality is that I want you guys to get help, okay? Because I know there's lots of Peters out there, good people. Lots of Tinas, good people. Lots of father, wife, sons. Both your boys are in it, right? Which we'll talk about as well. Because that dictatorship wasn't just with employees.
No.
That was with a couple of sons and a wife, okay? Which we're going to get into in a second. Peter's like, fuck, we're going to get into this. But that's all good, dude. That's why it's a no bullshit podcast. So I interviewed some of these people. And to let everybody know, you need to have somebody from an outside perspective interview these people. Your employees don't want to live in a prison cell. Your employees, trust me, do not want chaos. And I've said this, I think, a podcast a long time ago when we were talking about like A players. A fucking players. If you have any A players, and 90% of you guys out there have A players, you don't even know it, okay? I'm not saying all your employees are A players. No, they're not. But the A players, they want to be tested and they want to be measured because they want to show that they can perform. Peter, you played hockey, man, right?
Yep.
I mean, how important was it that you fucking knew what the scoreboard was and shit of that nature?
Oh, it's extremely important. I mean, that's what it was all about.
Right. I mean, how competitive are you?
Probably too competitive.
No, you're not, dude. You're fucking, I love it. You're crazy
My
competitive.
body would tell you otherwise.
Yeah, so Peter, by the way, everybody right here, Peter, you played hockey, right? Yeah. Just give an insight as some of the hockey and the injuries, just from a competitive perspective. Then we'll get back to the story here.
Sorry.
Well, I mean, like you talked about too competitive, right? Like most entrepreneurs that are in the trades, you guys are all competitive, right? Like
yes.
Most of us are.
Yes.
And
well, probably to the point of I didn't know when to dial it back.
Right, so
right?
you injured the shit out of yourself, man.
Yeah,
your knee, you came here
like a bionic man now.
Yes, with crutches.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah.
And you told him, like, Peter, I thought you had your knee surgeries done. You're like, no, that was just the one knee. I'm like, so what's going on? What's going on with your knee? Oh, it's not my knee. I had my freaking ankle fused. I'm like, what? These are all from hockey injuries and shit, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm attributing them to that.
Yes, for sure.
Because the joints are pretty much
gone.
You
played hard, man.
Yep. There was no limit to it. You just leave it all out there. There was
That's
nothing left.
Yes, and I think that's how we run our businesses. So this is segueing, guys. It was like, sometimes I don't know where this Andrew guy goes, but I think you've learned, anybody listening to this podcast, I bring it back in. So how we play sports, I'm not saying every owner of a contracting business plays sports. A lot of them have, okay? I fucking played sports. play hard, like get the shit kicked out of you, and actually as psycho as it sounds, you freaking enjoy, like, man, I just had the shit kicked out of me, man. Wasn't that great? Like, we're messed up, okay?
Absolutely.
Entrepreneurs, the contractors that are entrepreneurs, we actually take a little bit of pride that we can handle all this shit.
Yes.
Yeah, we do, right?
Watch me do it.
Yeah, watch me do it, right? And then we come in like a dictator with a fucking baseball bat, and we start beating people over the head going, I need this done this way. I need this done that way, okay? The craziest part is that we're given advice and we don't even know what should really be done, right? Okay, so you need to understand that most of you guys, leadership is a skill set. So what were some of you didn't have your team buying in. So then I interviewed some of these people and I got the reality, got the feedback of like, yeah, it's what I thought. Like Peter comes in with a fucking fist. He gives us, help me out here, Peter, but this is what the team was. I can't believe I remember this. Like, yeah, Peter would come in, be a Monday, and then on the Friday, Peter said, listen, next week we need to do this. Come the Monday, half that got fucking deleted. And now it's like, no, I need this report. Now I need that. It's like, it's the ever wheel of change of Peter going, I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this, like constant direction being changed. And it's like unrealistic timeframes. Right? Not knowing whether or not we have the skill set, not appreciating how much workload we've got right now, and then so many things that we put the time in to get started never gets done because his attention now is not on that anymore. It's on this. And we just spend fucking shitload of time trying to get this thing done. Help me out here. Is that sort of the story of this trip?
Yeah, it's pretty much it. So typically what would end up happening is all these thoughts would pop into my head and I'd have all these different ideas of what was going on and what we needed to do to get better or what we needed to do just to get on track or just do any, so every 5 minutes it'd be like a little thing, spark going off in my head and a little idea here, and we got to implement everything. And, I would share all that with them right then and there. And I would give that all to them. And then we're going to do this and we're going to do that and we're going to do it all. And then I would be surprised if they didn't get it done because if it came in my head and I told you about it, then automatically we should just do it right away. That's what we need to do. And what you taught me was about including everybody in the conversation and then start defaulting my calendar and start projecting when we get projects done and then set expectations and then you talked about putting in a buffer and, so that everybody, it wasn't the end of the world if we didn't meet that timeline, but as long as we met it within the time frame, including the buffer, everything was okay. And everybody all of a sudden started, so I started taking all these little firecrackers going off in my mind. I started documenting. You told me, put them in my parking lot. And so I started writing them down so I could get them out of my head and I could write them down and I could put them in the to-do list and I could schedule when we were going to talk about it. And all of a sudden we wouldn't be, my people wouldn't start feeling like I was drowning them, right? Because that's what it is. Like I could just keep going and going and going,
that's right.
and it doesn't bother me. Like,
and they're good ideas too.
Sure, but there's like too many, too fast, and there's no structure to them. They're just there. Right? And okay, exactly. Now deal with it. Here it is. Deal with it. Right? Totally. And they would just drown in all of it. Totally. And I didn't understand why. And I didn't. And so when you were talking to Dean or Greg or, it was like, man, he comes up with all this stuff and it's just like all over the place. It's like just taking a whole bunch of paint and just throwing it on a wall. And that's pretty much how it was. Right? So we started slow down. We started talking about.
Slow down to what?
Well, we just slow down the thinking, slow down, write it down.
Slow down the speed up, actually.
Right. Slow down to speed up. Yeah. And then we started talking about, like I said, the writing it down and time frames and, structure.
90-day planner.
And planning it and showing it and sharing it. And the biggest thing was buy-in. And, I never had buy-in. I never thought I needed buy-in. If I come out with it, then you should just do it. Right?
That's what I pay you for, right, Peter?
That's what I pay you for, exactly.
I'm the fucking owner. If I tell you to go do this, you go do it.
What it is. And the problem with that was that nobody would really take responsibility for anything. Like everything would come back to me. Like, simple things would come back to me. Complicated things would come back to me. They wouldn't make a decision on anything. And that was my fault for not empowering them, right? Not including them, not getting buy-in. And getting buy-in, meant that the project was actually there was going to be some roots and it was going to grow.
Totally.
Right? Without buy-in, the seed would never,
And let me elaborate on something. So, so for everybody listening, you might want to write this down. So I'm going to reflect on what we did more specifically with you, Peter. Okay? And this is the order There might be a couple of little pieces in between, but I'm going to give you guys the core fucking principles of how to do this, okay? So I don't want to hear any bullshit that, oh, I don't know what he was talking about, like how the fuck you do. I'm gonna like go step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? Here we go. Step number 1. You need to assess what the real situation is. So how do you go about doing that? You need to get an outside person, okay? So what I did, I went out, reached out to Peter, had a call, said, how do you do it right now? No, I tell them to do this. So as he was talking, you tell me if I'm right or wrong, Peter. And seriously, dude, if I'm off as bullshit, then fucking call my bullshit. You know that. I get called in bullshit sometimes, okay? Because I get a little bit excited, right? That's just the way it is. I remember talking to Peter, and I'm sharing my iPad. I'm like, okay, so what are the things that you want done? Like that you've asked to get done? This, and this, and this, and this, and this. I start typing all this shit down. I don't share it. I'm not actually in that stage. I'm not sharing it with Peter because Peter doesn't know this. But I'm going to go and ask him at the end of the call. I want to go and talk to some of your key people. She's like, yeah, sure, fuck, whatever, yeah. That's probably what they're going to tell you. I'm like, okay, great, perfect, thanks, Peter. So then I go talk to Dean, and the next person, and the next person, and I'm asking them, what's on your list? What's he want you to do? And they go on, and they go on, and they go on, and they go on. Oh, that's not to mention, Andrew, all the projects that we started that we never even finished. What do you mean? Well, we started this like 2 months ago. Then we started this, then we started this, then we started this. And I'm like still on Dean. And then Peter's like, I don't understand why you don't have any time. I'm like, well, show me, what does your calendar look like? He's like, my calendar looks like? What do you mean my calendar looks like? I just do whatever the hell he tells me every day. I said, so you just basically do what's been dictated to you every day? Yeah. And what was his role at that time?
He was running the office.
He was running the office. By the way, anybody that doesn't believe me on this, the office is the quarterback to what happens in the field. If your office is fucked, I guarantee your field's fucked. Would you agree, Peter?
Oh, so true.
Yeah, and people undervalue, especially tradespeople, they undervalue the admin people. Because they think they're fucking smarter than them. They think because they're the tradesperson, it's a trades business, they're smarter. Bullshit, right? Ordering the right material, making sure payments, like we can go on and on and on. The admin people are almost as important, if not more important, because they're the quarterback to what has to happen out in the field, okay? So cut to the chase. I then had a call with Peter. I said, Peter, so let's talk about Dean. I said, we're just going to pick one person. He said, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen? Yeah. I shared my screen. So Peter, what do you see? What did you say? Do you remember? I go, Peter, do you know of this shit? He said, yeah. Where did this come from? Who did it come from?
Oh, it came from Dean.
No, it came from Dean, but who did Dean get it from?
Oh, sure.
Came from Peter. I said, okay. So Peter, all this stuff is what Dean's working on. And I could see the eyes start to fuck. I could see his head. Peter looked like that at the screen. If you guys are watching this on video, he leaned in, and he leaned back, and he looked at it. I'm like, so let me just get this straight. These are all the things that he's supposed to be working on. He went, yeah. Okay. But that doesn't include his role of this, right? Dispatching and this and this and this and that. Yeah. How the fuck is he going to get all this done? Oh, by the way, these things here, I'm just going to list these, Peter. These 4 or 5 things here, yeah, those change in the last fucking 5 days. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, but that's because, Andrew, just clear. I go, Peter, could you fucking do this? What'd you say? What'd you say? Could you do all these things? Could you run this thing? And you went, no, I can't. I go, did you know that he's got this much shit on his plate? And you didn't. Why? Because we only remember the last idea. We remember the last best idea. Don't we as entrepreneurs? And we delete everything else that we fucking told them. True?
Yep.
Okay? And we expected how fast, Peter? No. Yeah. How many of those things require skill sets?
Every one of them.
Fuck me. Fuck me.
Every one of them.
Every one of them. So listen, Peter had the right intention. You had the right intention, dude. Okay? You didn't want to set your team up for failure. You didn't wake up and go, fuck, I want everybody to fail. But you don't know what you don't know. You're too close to the game. Mm-hmm. You really, right? You're on the ice and you're fucking in there trying to fucking stop this guy, in your case, defense. And you're just hearing defense. Meanwhile, it's like, Peter, they pulled the fucking goalie, dude. And you're like, what? Right? Oh, shit, you lost the game, right?
Yeah.
So everybody listening in, that's the next step, okay, is make sure you have an awareness of what it is that your team is dealing with.
Or what they've accomplished.
That's the next one, dude. You fucking nailed it. Tell us about that one. Hey guys, we're gonna take a short break. Here's a small little message from me and my team. Did the client sign off and everything? Did I tell the office to invoice immediately? Wait, did I factor in disposal costs? Did I update the job progress board? Did I follow up with the customer after 30 days? What else did I forget? This situation happens way too often to contractors because most are winging it when it comes to handling projects. Unless you control 3 critical phases of every job, you'll never scale your trades business. If you're lucky, you might somehow remember everything on your to-do list and get away with it once or twice. But the next time, you might not be so lucky. You definitely don't want the word getting out that you're unreliable. Or worse, get the Contractors job site cheat sheet. Make sure this never ever happens to you. It's a head-to-toe checklist that anyone on your team can easily use. Click the link below for instant access. It's 100% free. Maintain control, maximize your chances for success, and get your free Contractors job site cheat sheet right now.
So back to Dean, he would get a lot of these projects done, and he would work extra long hours, and he would bust it. Like, he would just hump it and get it done. And the more he would get done, the more I would give him. And we talked about, what happens when you finish a project. Do you actually acknowledge that the project is finished? Do you acknowledge that he did a great job? Do you have a little bit of a celebration? I mean, it could be anything, right? Like a way to go. Let's go for a pizza, whatever. I mean, a lot of these things that he was working on were huge, right? They were game changing things for the company at that time.
Especially that pricing one was a fucking
right?
big one, dude.
Game changing.
It was game changing, yep.
And my answer was no. I mean, we just moved to the next project. I mean, we don't have time for all this wasted time of celebrating.
That's what you thought, yeah.
Right? We're not going to waste any time celebrating. We got to get to the next level. We got to, and again, that was a game changer for me.
But why did it resonate with you though? I forget, what was the reason that you went, like, you bought it, it took you, it was on the same call, but it took a couple of moments where you were like, you just couldn't see the logic. Like, it was like wasting time. But then, I don't know what it was. Maybe you don't know yourself, but something happened and you're like, that makes sense. I don't know. I don't know if this is right or not, but I remember I always try to talk analogies. And I think I talked about, I could be wrong. It could be somebody else. But I'm pretty sure I brought up the analogy of, like, Peter, when you played hockey, did you guys ever win any championships? And what'd you say?
Yep.
Fucking right. So what was that like? What'd you say?
A little bit of a celebration.
Yeah, was it good though? Like, man, was it fucking...
yeah, it was great.
Like, yeah.
It was, reward you for all the effort.
Yeah, man. Like, fucking, I touched the cup. I fucking skated around the ice. We got fucking medals. I remember, I go, Peter, imagine your guys winning fucking the championships and they don't get fucking nothing. And you were like, I remember you were like, I think it was you. And you were like, holy fuck. It hit you. You're like, because you could relate to, like, when you played hockey going, that was the point. Like, that was part of the whole thing. Yep. Right?
Absolutely.
So once you started to do that, how big of it? So that's step 3, everybody. Celebrate. Reflect on the progress that is being made. How much did that change the relationship?
I think everything that we've implemented, inclusion and including them and celebrating the changes and trying to default our calendars and try to work within a reasonable time frame to get stuff done. I think all of these things were game changers, and I think it changed everybody's attitude.
But why is this one such an important one? Do you remember?
It basically acknowledged the effort of the people that made it happen, right?
Yes.
And it wasn't. I went from taking it for granted, to acknowledging that there was a lot of effort put into it, and it went a long way. Acknowledging the effort that went into doing what he does, and it basically said, okay, I recognize your value to the organization, and without your input on it, we would not be here today. We would not be at this level without your effort. And for him and I mean, a lot of people, everybody, like, they need that to be able to grow, right?
I love it. Let me be clear, everybody listening in. A players want to fucking win. One of the worst things you can do to an A player, and there's a few of them. There's definitely a few of them, okay? But one of the big ones is not letting them experiencing what it's like to win when they won. Because then to an A player, it's like, what's the fucking point? You're an A player, Peter. Everybody we've had in this podcast are they're A players. We are competitive. We like to win. Okay? And most of us have played sports, and regardless if you play in sports, okay, but if you've played sport, you get what I'm talking about, right? Like, whether it was me winning playing hockey in between the pipes, like, dude, one of my seriously, biggest wins for me, and I know I love it so much I get a little emotional over it, even though it's just a fucking game of hockey. Winning the championship, okay, on a shootout as the goalie. Bring it, come. Boom, Bernie Perreault, fucking seriously. And it's like fucking we did it, man. Like fucking I stopped that puck, man, and we won. Like that, these are moments, you remember that. And right now, saying that, I emotionally experience it. Seeing you in your face talking about winning those championships, you can emotionally see it.
Yep, bring it right back.
Yes, it brings it right back. Like when you allow your team members to celebrate together a win, you think they want to win less or they want to win more? Come on.
They definitely want to win more, and they become, they feel part of the team. They feel now they belong. They're part.
They're
of
creating
the solution.
something. Yes. Right. I love it. Okay, so guys, that's seriously, how much does it cost you to let people celebrate their wins? And Peter was like, "You're fucking right." Like, Peter? What are we talking? I'm like, Peter, you need to take him out to lunch or something. And was it a lot?
It was definitely an aha moment. We've had a lot of aha moments.
I know. We're gonna get to a couple more,
right? But that one definitely was a aha moment. It was a growth spurt for me.
Totally. Part two, one of the parts to wrap up on that particular one. Then there's I think two or three more parts, and then wrap up the podcast. So it all goes hand in hand. Peter always went to the team thinking he had the solution. I said, Peter, don't give him the solution. Give him the problem. And you're like, what? I'm like, no. Give them the fucking problem. Let them come back to you. Remember? Do you remember one of the first ones, quick wins? Remember this? I don't know if you remember. I obviously haven't said it yet. I go, Peter, how's your phone doing? You go, what do you mean? I'm like, Peter, you're on this call. You're on the call with me. You're answering your phone. I'd be, Peter, that'd drive me nuts. I'd get irritated. I'm like, you're on this call with me. You're spending time with me. Then you fucking pay attention to me. Otherwise, we're not going to have this call because you're wasting my fucking time. Okay, that's the high D's, right? Okay, and you respect that. These need to be told, dude, right? Peter, you're like, I get way too many texts. I get too many voice messages. My fucking email's full. I go, okay, here's what you're going to do. And you wrote the email. I remember this one. I go, Peter, right now, you're going to pull up your email. What? You're going to send out this email. Here, moving forward, something like that. I know you guys got a lot more that you guys can provide and solutions, and I trust you, which is true. Well, actually, you were struggling with that a bit, but you typed in, I trust you guys. Well, because you were always feeling like you were the one that had to provide the solution, right? And you said, do you remember what the rest of that was?
Basically, we talked about how we communicate.
Yes.
With different levels and red, yellow, and green.
Totally. But hey, guys, don't come to me with just the problem. You're going to come to me. I need you to either come to me with you've tried something or with a proposed solution. You remember that? Mm-hmm. That was a game changer.
Yep.
Why? Why was that email out to your team saying, moving forward, if you have a problem, I'm here to support you. But I believe and trust that you guys have a lot more that you can solve here and bring to the table. With that being said, if you have a problem, please come to me. But if you are going to come to me, you need to have at least tried something or you need to have a proposed solution. And by the way, doesn't mean it's the answer. How did that change things?
It was, again, a game changer, right? They become part of the solution. They put some thought to it. And it's very easy just to complain and just walk away and just complain and not provide any input or anything into it, right? A lot of people just complain for the sake of complaining.
That's true.
Right?
Well, they're good at it.
Now, they have to come up with a solution. What is the problem? I mean, and if it's not, if you don't have the time to come up with the solution, then I guess the problem is not that critical, right? So it's not worth very much time spent on it, right? So if you come with a solution, you want to talk about it, you put some thought to it, then you're going to give that more weight than something that you're not even willing to help out with or discuss.
Totally, dude. Totally. And one of the things, guys, you have to understand is that communication is the response you get. Now, what do I mean by that? Peter very quickly, and like seriously, there was a lot of breakthroughs very early. And hopefully you're listening to this and that's a breakthrough. Like if you're on this podcast and you're like, man, that makes sense. And you don't take the fucking minute, you don't take 10 minutes and send out that email. Don't listen to another fucking podcast. I'm serious, because you're wasting your fucking time. If you can't go and send out that email, because to me, it totally makes sense. You need to enable your team. And part of the problem is like you weren't giving your team the ability to be enabled to solve problems. And you have a lot of smart people. This is one thing you started to realize. Like, holy shit, Dean came up with this idea. Remember that was like that was like a month's worth of like you going, holy shit. And I'm like, what? Oh, and then they got together and then they figured out this. And I'm like, right? Together everybody achieves more. That's the fucking
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Totally. Okay, so that's number 3, guys. Enable them, right? Give them the ability to solve problems. Okay? And you might be listening. Well, what happens if they call me and they don't have a solution? Well, then let's not be fucking stupid about this. And you say, hey, remember that email I sent out? Dude, I trust you. Okay? I'm here to support you. Give me a call back. I want you to at least try something or think about a proposed solution. That's it. A lot of times they don't call back. Why, Peter?
They figured it out.
Yes, dude. That's it, right? And you're teaching, part of your job, guys, listening as an entrepreneur and a leader, is to create more leaders. Did Dean do that with the people below him?
Yeah.
See, guys, like this is a cascading effect. Like Peter applied it to Dean then applied it to his team, and everything, to your suppliers, guys, to your fucking everything, right?
Yeah.
Clients, to everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I could see the growth when you and I were doing it, and now I can see Dean growing when he's doing it.
Yes.
And then working with his people and developing procedures and policies and systems, and it's a wonderful thing.
Well, this is all about, we talk about scaling your business. You cannot, if you're listening in on this and you're like, I'm Bob in the truck or Bob in the 3 or 5 people, and you're like, nobody can do it like me or whatever. Like, guys, again, you're listening to the wrong fucking podcast. The way you're going to scale your business and get your business to pay, get your profits to pay for your freedom is to enable your team to help pave the path to that freedom, right?